Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about Australia's strategic schizophrenia. Yes, this is actually a thing. The big problem that Australia faces is that there's no real perspective that's correct, or there's no one side. You have people that will post one thing, and then 30 seconds later they'll come back on their post saying another thing, and then they'll go back on that post and say another thing because now it proves their point on X or Y. Take, for example, the epic tabloid John Menadue, which posts pro-China BS. This is a excellent piece of reading if you want to lose brain cells, where they argue that no, China has never threatened Australia. Never at all. And of course, they'll ignore everything that's ever happened in the news. They'll ignore every single incident that we've had with China so far, and they'll ignore all the they'll ignore literally all the unprovoked incidents that have occurred. And then they'll argue that it's the West that's the problem. But of course, it doesn't end there. Then we go on to the fact that they'll argue that the Australian military needs to be built to fight against climate change, and that missiles are a fad that just make us more reliant upon America, and all they do is inflame the situation. And then, once the Russia-Ukraine war started, and we actually saw that missiles were useful, they suddenly went, oh, but missiles are useful, but they're still not good for Australia because they're a fad, and, but missiles, they're good, but they don't do anything for Australia because, we're not going to back that reason up with anything other than escalation, which is literally what's been occurring in the region from China and various other countries for a long time now. Congrats. This is where I need to sit down and say this is a very common attitude amongst the Australian defence community. You have Hugh Weiss, a professor that I look up to, by the way. I need to make that clear. I look up to him. Who, in 1 second, he's like, we need to have the talk about nuclear submarines. And we need to discuss, maybe we should get them. And then 40 seconds later, once we actually get the AUKUS deal and we start signing off on it, immediately he gets up in arms and goes, no, this is a terrible deal and blah, blah, blah. Or you have people like, not Paul Kelly, one of the former Prime Ministers, Paul Keating, I apologise, who decides that he's going to come in and make his comments on the situation too, and tell us how, but it's a horrible deal and we should be signing our lot in with China, while saying that we are supposed to be acting in our national interest, which it's the contrary to. You see, this is where the problem lies. And then, of course, this goes across all the various different arms of the military, where the army, they want more missiles, but they don't understand that there's a thing called opportunity costs, and you got limited soldiers, and then you got a limited budget. So when the government cuts their tanks to give them missiles, oh no, how dare you? And they get all up in arms and all that sort of stuff. And it's just a continual shit show. And this is ultimately the big problem. It's that Australia's military and the defence community as a whole doesn't understand what they're trying to achieve. They don't know what defence of the continent means. Because defence is a very vague term, and this is why definitions are so important. And as usual, people don't like it when somebody gives them a proper definition because it shuts down their argument. And this is where we get to the big point. It's that no one defines anything. Defense of the continent for 40 different people is 40 different things. Each person can have an entirely different opinion on defense and still think that they are doing the right thing for the military or think they're doing the right thing for their country. It doesn't have a specification. It doesn't have this one label. And this is the whole problem with Australia. It's that we're sitting here in a scenario where we are faced by potential threats, potential adversaries, but we're still happy to squander defense for political gain because, but the climate change mob needs to have their big share of the defense budget. You got the anti-war activists that are thinking, let's cut all spending and, appease China, which is going to be just as bad as appeasing America, to be honest. Like, seriously, guys, and in fact, there's actually less benefits to appease China other than money. And it really says where your morals are at, by the way, when you do that. But hey, we'll move on anyway. And you see, this is the whole problem. It's that at the end of the day, we need to have this discussion. We have to define what Australia's military is for. To defend Australia, in my opinion, is to protect our national interests, our territories, our allies, and our actual land. It's to prevent us from being invaded, but also defend our trade routes as well as our trading partners if they ever require assistance, and assist the smaller countries around us in times of conflict. That, to me, is what the Australian military is for. But unfortunately for a lot of people, it can be anything else. It can be a lot of other things, and it really impacts how people look at defense. And it really needs a straight discussion where people actually come to a final conclusion and an actual decision as to what we need our military for, what its purpose is, and how we achieve that. But yeah, that's it for now. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you very much.